I saw Joker a few weeks ago, no spoilers. Boy, the media really made a big deal out of nothing on that one. Gave it as much bad press leading up to release as they possibly could, scaring people away from theaters by warning of violence that never happened, publishing a story about people being arrested for smoking in the theater during a screening, like, damn, they were right, this movie's causing fucking anarchy. Writing social commentary articles about how the movie handles race and white privilege, which don't even deserve to be dignified with responses. The movie doesn't handle race at all. It's gotta be so tiring to be this one-track minded about every aspect of culture. You don't have to like the movie. I thought it was pretty good. Joaquin Phoenix turns in a legendary performance, but some of the takes I've seen is just like, okay, these people went and saw Joker and tried really hard not to like it and latched onto whatever they could to maintain that opinion, which people do with plenty of movies. They did it with Inception, they did it with A Star is Born, they did it with Black Panther. Pretty much any movie that leaves a lasting impact on the culture and stands out from the crowd invites these people who see themselves as critics and crave attention and know that the only way critics get any attention is to exaggerate the negatives of their movie watching experience and turn it into a dramatic piece of theater all its own. Joker is too violent for our culture today. Good one. How was Game of Thrones, by the way? Were they still crushing people's eyeballs and decapitating them in the later seasons? I've seen higher death counts in cartoons. If you were opposed to this movie before it even came out, your brain is made of Play-Doh and you'll let people shape it into whatever they want. I have to remind myself, though, that some people are big fans of censorship and trying to dictate what everyone else is allowed to watch or do because they literally don't know any better. It's not always just power-hungry malice from people who crave control. Sometimes it's just a guy in a bubble whose friends all think the same way and who's only ever heard one side of an argument his whole life. I know I've been that guy before. Hell, I used to just agree with the first cohesive argument on a topic I heard and not even bother exploring it further than that. Then if I saw a random blurb from someone I didn't know that went against what I had just wrapped my opinion around, I'd get immediately defensive inside, like, this guy just doesn't get it. You can have a good point, and some people will just nullify it if they don't want to hear it. It will just straight up not reach the processing part of their brains, and you'll have wasted your time. I remember doing it. I still do it from time to time. People don't want to be challenged. Sometimes I'll tweet something that I know is one-sided, and I'll just be like, yeah, nobody better reply to this shit. Either like it or retweet it or ignore it, but I'm not dealing with dissent today. I am not in the mood. I don't know what you're going to reply, but I know I'm going to dismiss the fuck out of it, so don't do it because I will spend the next 2 hours ignoring you and actively thinking about the fact that I'm ignoring you. I'm as principled as I can be, but everyone slips. Nobody's consistent 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We all entertain thoughts that go against our basic values, or forget ourselves for a moment, or fail to see a connection between a current issue and our previous philosophical stances. Also, whenever I speak about people who crave control and want to silence dissent and shape the world as they see fit and all that, I'm coming at that from a place of continued personal experience. I feel like aspects of my personality and disposition are geared towards light totalitarianism, and I have to be self-aware of it in order to not turn into one. Like if you gave me a button and you were like, if you press this button, every type of person who annoys you is no longer allowed on the internet and they can never post anything online again, and also nobody will ever find out who pressed the button. I mean, that's just a nice thought. Imagine never having to see opinions or statements you think are stupid ever again. Regardless of your official stance on deplatforming, it's a positive image in your brain. It elicits pleasurable emotions, and then if you're a calmly rational person, you still push those thoughts to the side as far as reality goes, and say, regardless of how this makes me feel short-term, it would not be good for society to treat my own ideology as an inarguable doctrine and remove all who oppose it. But if I see something dumb online, one of my consistent fantasies is that I, hack the person who said it and shut off their access somehow. The difference between us and the savages is that the savages actually attempt that shit. I just entertain it. But even so, if you entertain something too much, it might not want to leave you. And then you have to ask yourself the question on a smaller scale. What if you could press a button and just one person, the most recent person you had a negative interaction with, lost posting privileges forever? Or for a year, or a month, or a day. How small do the consequences have to be for you to seriously consider them? But it's a trick. Because if you're like, sure, I'll revoke their shit for a day, it's just a day, who's gonna care? The power has already begun to infect you. You have another negative interaction with the same person later, and you think, okay, they didn't learn their lesson with the day, let's go a week. It's just gonna ramp up, and no matter how much control you have, you'll tell whatever lies to yourself you need to justify it. Everybody watches the beginning of The Lord of the Rings and is like, if I was Isildur, I wouldn't have been corrupted by the power of the One Ring. I would have destroyed it like a good boy. Nah, bitch, you'd have wrapped that shit around your fingers so tight, it'd cut off blood circulation and turn blue till it fell off organically. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, as they say. God, imagine being Superman and using your powers for good. How fucking boring do you have to be to not rob a liquor store or two while wearing a disguise of some kind? Like, okay, you can be Superman and be a hero if that gets you off, but also you should have an alternate costume for when you want to go out at night and bust down the door of somebody you played online in Super Smash Bros. Who was just spamming moves and playing hella toxic, and make them watch while you break their Nintendo Switch in half. A little bit of tyranny goes a long way. I feel like these words don't have any weight in this generation. Tyranny, totalitarianism, authoritarianism, I hear them and I feel nothing. They're the springboard for mass incarceration, torture, genocide, ethnic cleansing, ideological imprisonment, the expungement of freedom, and the general corruption of the human soul. But we flirt with them like harmless dance partners when we advocate for deplatforming or curtailing speech or mandatory gun confiscation. People talk about the infringement of rights, and some people are like, well, I mean, it's no big deal if we infringe on those rights a little bit, under the right circumstances, if our hearts are in the right place. Like, no, fuck your heart. You need a Mortal Kombat character to rip yours out and show it to your dying eyes so you can momentarily see how black it is before you expire in disgrace. Show of hands. Who here is aware of how corrupt they are? You never are. Even if you concede that you are corruptible, it doesn't mean you'll notice when it starts to happen. The solution is to avoid principles that involve trading other people's freedom for your comfort. If you don't like a movie, don't try and get it banned. If you don't like what other people are saying, don't try and get them banned. Your emotional security is not worth as much as you think it is. In fact, it's worth almost nothing in the grand scheme of things. I think a lot of the issues of today stem from people really overvaluing the importance of their personal satisfaction as far as things that are bigger than them are concerned, especially when you consider how many horrible, disgusting, and barbaric things we know are going on around the world or even in our country already that we just tune out because it's like, nope, it's way better for me if I don't think about this. So since we're already so good at that, I wonder why some people can't apply that to more things that they really should. I'm not advocating that people just stick their heads in the sand in the face of everything that triggers them, but if you're going to be selectively outraged about things, you could at least pick some more broadly condemnable issues. As much as I am for individual rights and freedoms, they can't come at the cost of group rights and freedoms for others. That's why if you go to a restaurant and are unsatisfied with the food or service, your one-star Yelp review can't single-handedly put the restaurant out of business because it might be other people's favorite place to eat. Think beyond yourself when it comes to personal satisfaction. You are just one person, and that's great and very important in plenty of contexts, but there are some where you really are just another human among humans, and you have to accept that. People who can't turn into tyrants and control freaks who demand the entire world bend over backwards for them, and that's who you see protesting speeches in the theater screenings. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Sunburned Albino, and I'll see you guys next time.